Thank you. As I stand before you, I'm reminded of my own journey, a journey fueled by dedication to challenge gender inequality and a burning desire to create a more equitable world for all. This cause, which has shaped my life, stems from personal experiences that have shaped my perspectives. I come from a family of a father, a mother, and only 4 girls. I have no brother, no half brother, no full brother. So you can see why I'm always very passionate about issues that affect women. But our parents gave us confidence because they believe that what a man can do, a woman can also do. Thank you. Please clap. Growing up, I witnessed the immense potential of the women in my life. They possessed wisdom, courage, and determination that knew no bounds. Yet, I couldn't ignore the barriers they face simply because of their gender. It pained me to see their talents go unrecognized, their voices silenced, and their dreams deferred. All my life, I have been dedicated to raising awareness about the importance of female representation in private sector, public sector, and society at large. Through advocacy, mentorship, and collaboration, I have worked with countless remarkable women who have defied societal expectations and dared to lead. They have taught me the true meaning of resilience, breaking through the glass ceiling with grace and determination. Mentorship and collaboration. I have worked with countless remarkable women who have defied societal expectations and dared to lead. They have taught me the true meaning of resilience, breaking through the glass ceiling with grace and determination. Mentorship and collaboration. I have worked with countless remarkable women who have defied societal expectations and dared to lead. They have taught me the true meaning of resilience. Witnessing their journeys, breaking through the glass ceiling, only reinforced my belief in the transformative power of female leadership and collaboration. Seen firsthand the positive impact women, female leaders can have on organizations, communities, and nations. Their unique perspectives in their journeys, compassionate and collaborative in leadership style, bring about real change and inspire others to follow suit. But let us not forget the obstacles that female leaders face despite their undeniable abilities. Women are often met with skepticism, criticism, and doubt. The path to leadership has been fraught with unique challenges that have focused them to work twice as hard, prove themselves repeatedly, and navigate a world that too often doubts their capabilities. I'm sure all of you here will know, because you're all leaders. I recognize you must have gone through all the things that I'm saying. We must acknowledge and address these barriers to create a society that values and supports the rise of female leaders. Today, as we gather to launch the Future Focused Female Leader and discuss the importance of female leadership, let us renew our commitment to breaking down these barriers. Let us recognize the strength, intelligence, and empathy that women bring to leadership positions. Let us build a world where the qualities traditionally associated with femininity, compassion, collaboration, and emotional intelligence are respected and celebrated. To achieve this, we must champion gender equality, not as women's issue, but as a fundamental human right. We must engage in open dialogues, challenge outdated norms, and dismantle systemic biases that limit the opportunities for women to lead. We must foster mentorship and support networks that empower young women to embrace their leadership potential without fear or hesitation. Our collective responsibility is to create an inclusive society that thrives on diverse perspectives, where everyone, regardless of gender, can contribute to the greater good. In closing, I want to leave you with a heartfelt plea. Let us stand together, men and women alike, in the fight for equality. Let us support the women who lead with passion, courage, and unwavering determination. Let us remind each other that we have a vital role in supporting the emergence of future-focused female leaders. And to female leaders, I say to you, whether you are a seasoned leader, a budding entrepreneur, or someone who aspires to make a difference in your community, your voice matters. Your dreams matter. And through your leadership, you have the power to shape a future that is inclusive, vibrant, and buzzing with possibilities. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma. Please, can we give her a resounding round of applause? Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you very much. The story is changing. Do you agree with me? The story is changing. Whether or whether not, we must be recognized and acknowledged for the right reasons. Okay. Like I tell people, don't put a woman on your board because she's a fine face. Put her on the board because she has something to offer and she's bringing some good value to that board. Please, that was fantastic, man. Thank you so much, man. Thank you very much, man. We're going to go straight to our panel discussion. And our moderator is the Chief Executive for Faith Foundation, which is Nigeria's foremost business incubator, which has connected over 240,000 entrepreneurs in 31 states. Adenike Adeyemi is a social innovator with expertise in small and growing businesses, policy, institutional transformation, nonprofit sustainability, philanthropy, and corporate governance. Her 20-year experience includes working in the private, public, and development sectors to develop, fund, and implement innovative programs and high-impact policies for micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSMEs, and young people. She is a 2022 Google Non-Profit Leaders to Watch and a 2020 Eisenhower Global Women Leaders Fellow. She also serves on several for-profit and non-profit boards. Please, let's put our hands together as we welcome our moderator, Adenike Adeyemi. You're welcome, madam. Our panelist, an accomplished corporate executive with over 17 years experience in the financial services industry. She has successfully led business strategy and corporate performance initiatives, delivering exceptional results. Her expertise lies in investment management, business transformation, and driving market leadership. Beyond work, she's dedicated to mentoring aspiring female professionals and actively contributes to equipping women with the knowledge and skills they need to make informed investment decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Odiri Ogini. Let's put our hands together for her. Please, let's keep clapping. Let's keep clapping. I'll keep clapping for you to get there. You're welcome. Listen. He's the CEO of Fenchurch Group, a leading infrastructure-focused conglomerate with interests in power and energy across Nigeria and West Africa. A business executive with over 20 years of diverse expertise in business management and implementing operational strategies, and has been responsible for the growth of Fenchurch Group of companies. He has extensive experience and is responsible for acquisition strategies, project structuring, development, and implementation of effective corporate governance across all Fenchurch subsidiary companies. He has been a panelist at various events, notably Lagos Startup Week, the Future of Energy 2022, Lagos and the Domestic Gas Summit, Gas to Power Value Chain 2022, Abuja. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Olufemi Bakare. That's a very bold man. We celebrate you, sir. She will join her colleagues on stage the minute she steps in. Her name is Adesua Okubo Rhodes. She's currently the founder and managing partner of Arua Capital Management, one of the few growth, equity, and gender lens funds in Africa, closing gender gaps across. Oh, here she. Oh, wow. Please clap for her. Okay. Okay, she has more than 14 years of investment banking and private equity experience in developed and emerging markets from global institutions. She currently sits on 8 boards in Nigeria across healthcare, manufacturing, agriculture, renewable energy, and hospitality sectors. She's married with a son and enjoys traveling, tennis, and cooking. Welcome. Let's clap for her. All right, so I'll cede the mic to our moderator. The floor is yours.
Hello, yes, fantastic. Adesua, do you have a mic? Great. Okay, good. Good morning, everyone, once again, and I am delighted to moderate this panel on this exciting, soon-to-be-launched book, The Future Focused Female Leader. Congratulations once again to the author of the book, Dr. Chinyere Almona, for the launch. And we're going to spend the next 25 minutes thereabout to have conversations on dynamics of female leadership. And I am going to make sure that, we get a lot of insights, experiential insights, guidance, and even some tools and tips, because I know amongst us here, there are quite a number of experienced female leaders, but we also are mentors and mentees in different ways to different female leaders that we support. And we will hope that this interactive session will provide some clarity around the challenges, but also experiences we've had in supporting and enabling female leaders, and how we've also been enabled or disabled, and how we, help to also change those dynamics. So I'm going to start with you, Mrs. Ogini, and thank you very much once again to our chairman. She already laid a good foundation on talking about some of the challenges experienced by female leaders. And so I would like to build on that and ask you, from your experience, what have been the challenges you've experienced either directly or you've seen others around you experience, or you perceive to be the experience that women face on pursuing the path of leadership? Thank you.
All right, thank you. And good morning, everyone. And first of all, congratulations to Dr. Chinyere for this book launch. So for me, what are the challenges I've faced in rising in my leadership journey? I'll say to a large extent, self-belief, self-confidence. In my 17-year career journey, one of the things I've had to face, I've had to take on roles to a large extent where my predecessors were much older than me in age and also more experienced than me. So I get into those roles and I'm struggling with, they call it imposter syndrome. For me, I say I struggle with having that belief in myself that, oh, I can do this job or I can fill that shoe. And I think to a large extent, most women are also in the same situation where we struggle with, do I have the capacity? Even when we have the capacity, even when over time we have demonstrated track record, that we could do this. But when we are given a stretch responsibility or something that, in quote, looks like it's a bigger role or a bigger step for us, we tend to begin to doubt ourselves. So I think the first thing and one of the major challenges I've had to face is, self-doubt, and over time working around doubt to be able to project my voice. And then the second thing I would say is visibility. We all grow up with this mindset that, we are supposed to be seen or not heard, or, we are not supposed to be seen, we are not supposed to be heard, so we are focused to a large extent on doing our jobs, and letting, in quote, our work speak for us. And, these days, we now know that your work doesn't have a voice. You are the one, you're supposed to give voice to the work that you do. So I think the second biggest challenge for us as female leaders, is battling with the idea of visibility. And you see, over time, I think in the last, 2-3 years, we've seen a number of programs, helping women, deal with visibility. And when I even picked up this book, the first thing I went to was the chapter on visibility. And I really wanted to see what she had to say, and also listen to her experience on visibility. And then the last challenge I would say to a large extent is courage. For us, we have that big ideas, we are gifted internally, but there's just this fear. I think God there's just this fear, and I think we have it in excess. A guy can I want to do this, and they go ahead to do it. For us as women, we will overanalyze it in our head. We will create the picture of what it will look like if we don't succeed, forgetting that what will it look like if you succeed. And in my career, to a large extent, I think what has held me back has been the courage to act, the courage to take that step, the courage to raise up your hand for that assignment that you are overqualified for. So that's for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very well said. And I think you've shared quite a lot of what a number of us experience. When she was talking about self-doubt, I always say that I always have that for some of us, some of those older comics, the cartoons that have an angel and the devil like literally on your shoulder. So on the one hand, go, 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 you can do it. On the other hand, who are you? What do you think you are? And so thank you for talking about that. So my next question will be to Mr. Bakari. One of our he for she's, as they say. Again, it's very important to have, I strongly believe in the importance of female and male allies. If I look in my career, I have seen equally the same amount of strength and support from women as much as men. So can you please share your thoughts and your perspectives on the role that men can play in enabling and facilitating women in leadership and consistently in leadership, and even share some of the things you've done within your work and over the years?
Okay, thank you very much. Like everyone knows, in the family, there's a father, and there's a mother. And really everything, I believe, personally starts from the house, right? So as a father, and fathers generally have a big responsibility in instilling that sense of self, courage, focus and discipline, for the female child to achieve whatever it is that they set their mind to. For example, Mama was saying earlier on to me when we were sitting down that her father, got her a lesson teacher early when it wasn't even the norm to do that. Her father said to her, "Oh, you'd go to Queen's College," and she'd always had a vision of what she wanted to achieve. And it's the same thing with a lot of people. A lot of women, young girls have a clear sense of what it is they want to achieve. All that is required is that push, that courage, to say, look, you can do it, go for it, and there's nothing stopping you from achieving it. And when I was reading the book, something interesting, I said to myself, out of all these qualities, which one is really, really key? And I sort of focused on vision, right? On having that vision to achieve, right? I think once you craft a vision, but then when she was talking now, she said about that sense, being seen, so I think maybe it's something that men take for granted, so this conversation actually opened my eyes that actually, female perspective, being seen, that courage. I in fact, when I saw that, you are seen anyway, right? But no, clearly that's an issue. So I'm actually going to leave here today with another thing again on my mind.
A round of applause.
Now, with regard to what we do within Fenchurch Group, Fenchurch, we're an infrastructure company. We build power plants, so you can understand that it's a very male dominated environment. But I'll tell you a story. Something happened when we got our first power job in 2007. And this was 2007. Power wasn't sexy the way it is now. Everyone's talking about power. Then it was still PHCN. Privatization was on the horizon, but it hadn't started yet. So it was still a ministry in essence, but it's not been carved up. And then we got our projects. And then I was the Ibadan zone. I was going up and down that building every day, just trying to get traction. And then one day, Chief Mrs. Awolokun, right, who happened to be the head of technical. So you can understand this is PHCN, power then, but she's the head of technical, right? So you'd expect that to be a male what's it called? But she said one day, this boy, who do you know in this building? Who do you know here? I said, I don't know anyone. She said, follow me. I'm going to be your mommy here. And that made all the difference, right? And I don't think a man would have said, follow me, I'm going to be your daddy here. I think that would have had a different ring to it. But she said, follow me. I'm going to be your mommy here. Now, the thing is, a force to be reckoned with. Engineering, her competence was not in doubt. I was reading the top of this book here. It says she's a force to be reckoned with. That was Mrs. Awolokun. A blessing and a source for good, armed with skills, will, and vast abilities. Everything, she ticked that box, right? And she made all the difference. And without her support, we wouldn't have Fenchurch Power doing all the things it's doing today. Because of her, when I came across our head of technical, Odun Bamodu, engineer Odun Bamodu, brilliant power engineer I have ever seen. I remember Chief Misawoloku. And then there's a conscious decision within Fenchurch to engage female engineers. So just to wrap up, so that's how, so from a personal perspective, it starts from the home, and then it just carries on. And then I think, everyone has a duty to ensure that we push that narrative. And like you said earlier on, I think to be seen was something that I've taken for granted, and I'm sure a lot of other men are taking that for granted, and will be living here with that. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for emphasizing the role of the family and communities, because really that's where it starts from. When people see that whether their uncles, their brothers, and their fathers push them and enable them within even the family setting, that helps. Thank you for making the commitment to proactively ensure visibility for the women within your companies and your groups. We hope Ms. Chief Awoloku is well wherever she is, and it would be great to know what she's up to nowadays. I think there's something you subtly spoke about, because even when we think about female leadership generally, it's even hard to find female leadership in certain spaces, in STEM spaces, engineering, technology. And one of the things that visibility helps with, it's that it shows other women that, oh, there are other people like me that have done this path. And I know that a lot of developing countries do that very well, where they say, okay, this is the first woman to fly in space, this is the first female engineer, and all of that. And that really helps, because it then shows that there's not one way to leading as a female. There are diverse faces and representations of women, and that's very important. So, Mrs. Adesua, you're in a space that is passionate to my heart in entrepreneurship, and you're doing something even very spectacular. One of the statistics that always jars me is when you look at the statistics for women entrepreneurs in Nigeria, there's increasing growth of women running businesses. And I know this is a space that Thelma cares a lot about. A lot of women that play in the entrepreneurship space still play very much at the micro and nano level. In fact, the last NBS and SMEDA statistics show that in the SME level, so small and medium enterprise category, we only had 22% of women in that category. So while there are a lot of women in entrepreneurship, we're finding significantly less in the higher value, high growth one. But you are in the space where you're making sure that you're addressing that funding gap. So I'd like you to please speak about the role of mentorship in facilitating leadership for women, not just in entrepreneurship, which is important, but even generally speaking. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. So I think mentorship is really critical. To what Ms. Oguni said, self-worth, self-doubt, imposter syndrome. I think when you have women that have gone before you and have, charted that path already, and can provide you with advice, provide you with guidance, in organizations where there are typically dynamics at play, that as a young woman, you're just doing your job thinking that that's enough. You typically need these women and leaders and men that are in senior positions that can provide you with the guidance and advice that you need. But going ahead of that, because I also think sometimes women are over-mentored. We need action.
Can you describe, what does over-mentoring mean?
So I think there's a role for sponsorship and advocacy and action. There comes a times where advice reaches its limit, and you actually need action and you need advocacy. So I think there's a room for both. You need the advice, you need the guidance, you need experienced women and men in senior positions that can show you the way. But over and above that, you need people to speak up for you in these rooms. You need people to say, I know this young lady somewhere, I know this woman somewhere, she's ready for the job, she's ready for that board position. And coming back to Arua, I think that's where we're putting our money where our mouth is. We want to invest in female-led businesses that are looking for growth capital in the SME segment. Similar to what Ms. Nikia said, there are a lot of SMEs and micro SMEs that are run by women. But I think the passion for me when I was starting up Arua come 4 years ago now, with the support of people like Dr. Almona and other women in this room, it was very important for me to give women an equal playing field. Less than 4% is what's going to women right now in terms of capital. We make up 50% of the population, so that just doesn't seem right to me. So the way that we're enacting sponsorship in our own way and taking action is making sure that we're providing growth capital to businesses that are run by women, founded by women, have women in their leadership positions, and we're providing them with scale capital to take them to that next stage of growth. We recently just announced a $2 million investment into a brilliant business in Agbara called Fastizers, run by a wonderful lady that has been running the business for almost 10 years, but she didn't have access to growth capital to take her to that next stage until we came along. So we see a lot of businesses like this, where you have brilliant women that are building phenomenal businesses that are profitable, that are growing, but they're just not giving that access to capital. So I think mentorship is very important and advice has its role to play. But as women, we should also be taking action and increasing advocacy and making sure that we're giving chances to women in our space, providing access to capital where we can, providing access to advocacy when we can. So I think both have a significant role to play.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And I'll come back to you later on what you said on advocacy and what are the points for advocacy. So Mrs. Ogini, we've just spoken about entrepreneurial leadership and facilitating access for women to explore the boundaries of their entrepreneurship desires. But then again, there's similar dynamics in the corporate space and the corporate sector. So in your view, what have you seen, or what do you think that organizations and corporates can do to ensure that there's more inclusion? And I'm very careful about the word inclusion because I don't want to say it's now a buzzword, but it is, every organization is inclusive, ticking the box, and it's a great thing. I'm very excited about it. But what can happen sometimes is that it then becomes an activity to do without then thinking about the deliberateness of it. So what have you seen, and speaking specifically to our environment here, that organizations can do to enable and foster consistent female leadership growth? I know I'm speaking to the choir here, and quite a lot of women here are familiar with the statistics that is in play, because the issue a lot of times is not just getting women to work, but making sure that up until the boardroom levels, they're actively playing there, because at some point, whether family, career, life, so many other things, women sometimes fall on the wayside. And if the organizations are not intentional, you don't have them being built up in that management cadre. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So inclusive leadership, I'll speak my first point from building on what Adesua said on women being over-mentored and under-sponsored. And I think the concept of sponsorship really, applies in the corporate world. To a large extent, I am a big beneficiary of sponsorship, and I will always say that. I had a boss.
For those that may not know, what is sponsorship?
So sponsorship really is, someone expending their social capital on you. You are in a room that someone belongs to, but you are not in that room. And the person is able to say, oh, Odiri can do this job. I think we should give her this assignment. Oh, this opportunity is good for her because she's, to a large extent, I've worked with her and I know her. So I work currently in United Capital PLC Group as the CEO of the asset management business. I had a boss who was a group CFO then, and I was like the head of financial control working with him. and he will go to board meetings, he will go to our larger group meetings, and he say, oh, if I just have 2 Odiri in my team, I'm fine. If I just have 2 Odiri in my team, I'm fine. I was just one shy, timid girl in that department doing my work, just head down, do your work. I didn't have that any form of or level of visibility, and I didn't even understand the word then of sponsorship, But over and over, he kept saying that, over and over, he kept saying that. And then people began to say, who is this Odiri? Who is this Odiri? So yes, I could have benefited from being mentored, but having someone who attends board meeting, attends strategic meeting and says, oh, Odiri can do this job. If I just have 2 of her in my team, I'm fine. We will do well. Over time, I became the group CFO. I took over from him, when he was moved to become the MD of the asset management business. And that's how now currently I'm the MD of the asset management business. So you can see how my career has grown largely on the back of sponsorship, having someone who in meetings that I'm not available, I'm not even entitled to be a part of, say Odiri can do the job. And that has provided me, that platform over time to grow. So for inclusive leadership, I think we need more sponsorship. There's a lot of programs that push mentorship for women, which is good and very great, but I think we need to begin to have platforms that help women, that sponsor women, not just in the corporate world, in the political area, also in business. We need to begin to have those group of people who can identify, within the ecosystem to say who can we push. And to a large extent, that's what the men do. We say Godfather. What is Godfather? Godfather is someone sponsoring you. Maybe we need to have godmothers. So I think what we need to do more, one is sponsorship and having, and being intentional about sponsoring women in key positions, particularly, but also in the political area. And then the second thing also is how we groom female leaders. How do we groom them? A lot of us as women, somehow maybe it's in our nature, in our DNA, we struggle with confidence. We struggle with confidence. Today you have, even if you go to Harvard or other Ivy League schools, you have training programs for women in leadership. And that's because they have identified that the way you groom a woman for leadership position is completely different from the general leadership program. And that's what organizations need to begin to do, have an intentional program for grooming and raising female leaders, that takes into consideration a lot of our preferences, a lot of our personal struggles, like confidence, like being visible, like promoting yourself. A lot of us hold back. Oh, I don't want to be seen as, being boastful or being too, few days ago, somebody called me ambitious, because I, to a large extent, I'm learning how to be more visible. And if people follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see that to a large extent, I try to push what we're doing in United Capital, what, I'm doing. And then people read and say, this girl is so ambitious. Oh, but you will never say a man is ambitious. So there are a lot of things that we struggle with, and when we hear that, we just lay back and say, oh, I don't want to be seen as ambitious. Let me hold back. So a lot of us are really holding back. So I think to be more inclusive in an organization, the training program, how we raise female leaders, we need to be intentional about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think there's sometimes we should also be okay with that. I think just even redefining, it's okay to be ambitious, and not have a negative perception to the view of some words. But thank you so much for sharing your experiences. There were a lot of examples you made, and I think it would be good to do a shout out to WIMBIZ. I know the chair of the WIMBIZ Executive Council is here, and WIMBIZ has done quite a lot in terms of women in business, women in politics, women in entrepreneurship, but we need a lot of those type of examples being facilitated. So Mr. Bakare, again, since you're the only man on this panel, what will be your challenge to the men in this room and even to the men in our lives too, to continue to support and facilitate female leadership? What do you think is the thing that you've mentioned one or two in your initial conversations, but what's the challenge you will give to the men in the room in terms of the need to be able to enable female leadership in the different spheres that they play in?
I think you've actually used the word is enable, allow. You know, that's it. And there's nothing wrong with being ambitious, right? So when and it's good this conversation is going on, because then we're putting things in perspective, right? There's nothing wrong with a female child being ambitious. All the challenge to men, and fathers and brothers and bosses is allow her shine, give her the space to grow, encourage the way Audrey says she's been mentored, right? Sponsor. For example, I've got a very good friend. Her name is Catherine. She's in the power space also. And her husband just allows her be. She's traveling to Abuja on her own. She's making those trips. It's because he's also allowing her to achieve her dreams. Go for it. And a lot of people get stifled, as it were, right? So I think that's the most important thing. Just once you recognize, right, encourage it, allow, let it happen, and that's it. Remove the brakes or the cap, as it were. That'd be my advice to all men.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A round of applause, please. Thank you. So last question to Ms. Adesua. You were making a point around advocacy and enabling that, and policies help in so many things, in so many ways. So what do you think are the key and important points of advocacy that we need? Not just even within the business space, but even maybe within the political space that can facilitate these conversations that we're having?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think that policy and advocacy for women is very important. And I think you mentioned WinBiz is already doing a lot of work around that. I think we're looking at the statistics, women in Senate and the House represent less than, is it 4% or something? So we also need women in leadership positions in politics to be driving policies for women in entrepreneurship, women across corporate boards, women, founders in startups. So policy plays a big role. And I think, for my business, we're definitely going to be lobbying this new government to increase and provide opportunities for female capital allocators. Because I think something that we strongly believe is if you have women in investment making decisions, if you have women that are actually writing checks, there's a natural trickle down effect of female entrepreneurship. We've seen that across different places in the world. When you have women allocating capital, they're 3 times as likely to invest in a female CEO. They're 4 times as likely to invest in a female founder. So I think that it's very important to make sure that we have women in investment making decisions, we have women in leadership positions, because until we really change that, what's the use of a woman going into a bank asking for a loan when there's 5 men in front of her? We need to have women in those investment roles so that we can see that trickle down effect of women in society and in economies. So policy plays a huge role, and it's down to women in leadership to make sure that they're putting their hands up for political positions as well, and also encouraging others to go into government, but also using their own sphere of influence to try and influence policy through their organizations as well. So we'll be doing that this time around, and I encourage others to do the same thing as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. So in rounding up the panel discussion, I really just want to say thank you to our panelists. Thank you for your insights and thank you for your sharing your experiences. The things that have come out consistently is you talked a lot about even women, us ourselves, being courageous to do it afraid, do it boldly. The need for a lot of examples on the varying types of leadership and really just showing the different facets of leadership that exists, entrepreneurship, business, politics, the need for policies that foster women participation. When people talk a lot about Rwanda, I was reading a report recently, and part of what helps is when you create the opportunities in the space to say, okay, out of every 10 positions that are available, make sure 3, 4, 5 go to women. If you start with that, it really does enable that. But you then want to take it forward by making sure that you capacitate, enable, empower women to be able to also effectively fulfill those roles. We've also talked a lot about the importance and role of sponsorship, both with male and female allies. And we've also talked about the importance of just also ensuring that other things that facilitate the partner, playing those roles. So whether it's capital, financing, providing the opportunities that exist are also very key. Thank you very much. And thank you to the audience for listening to us. Thank you.
Photo ops, please, can you just photographs? Author, please join them. Let's put our hands together for this fantastic panel. Chinyere, please join them. Come up. Come up. Chinyere, go up. Go up. Go up. Stay up. Thou shalt be on top only. Okay. Another round of applause for them. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know when the gentleman was making a comment earlier, he did say something, sorry, about somebody allowing his wife, allowing. We've been talking about allowing. On my table, we were talking about allowing. Yes, Shaliwa. I think we should use another word. Why should we be allowed? Can somebody enable? Yes, another word. Support, another word. Come on, ladies, give me the word. Encourage. Thank you very much, sir. I love that. Encourage. Encourage. No, allow me, I beg. Allow me. Encourage me, because you know I have it in me. Let's put our hands together for ourselves once again. Thank you so much. So while the panel discussion was going on, some people came into the room. A lot of people came in, but please, we'll just recognize a few of us. And make sure you recognize the person sitting to your right and to your left before you go. There will be an exam at the end of the yeah. You will tell me the person's name. You will tell me their height and their weight. All right. Chief John Odeyemi, past president, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Chairman Board of Trustees, LCCI. You're welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us. Saladi Smith, Vice President, LCCI. Let's put our hands together for him. Mrs. Yemisi Ransom Kuti. She's a girl child advocate and founder of Girl Watch. You're very welcome, ma'am. We're so glad you're here. Miss Yemisi, please forgive me. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She is the head of the Ransom Kuti family. You need to know that. It's not easy. It isn't easy. All right. Moving on. We want to know this woman that has gathered us here this morning. Somebody needs to tell us something about her. And I'd like to call up Mary Iwelumo. She's a partner, West Africa Advisory, Government and Public Services Advisory Leader, Nigeria, and Head of Strategy. BW. Women are doing great things. Please clap for these women. And clap for Mary as she comes. But please let's clap for this gentleman. He's encouraging her. He's encouraging.
Good afternoon. You guys are not encouraging me. So among all the many things that I learned from Chinyere, studying her and shadowing her, she always said to me that, Mary, every time you wanted to make a speech, make sure people are listening. So I've just been waiting for her to sit down because she has to hear everything I have to say. Right? You know, when she asked me to do this, the first thing that came to my mind was, I have known Chinyere for a long time. I mean, we had so many names for her. For those who do not know, she worked in PricewaterhouseCoopers for a bit, what seemed like forever. But now it feels like you've been out of PwC longer than you were in PwC. But still, you haven't aged, Chinyere. That's something you did not teach us. We just keep growing old and then you keep like regressing with your looks. Okay, so during a time in PwC, Chinyere was my coach, is my mentor. I say was, but she still is, because every so often she calls me to say, so Mary, what are you doing? I mean, her latest, what do I call it? Push for me is, you need to be a director, right? That's the latest one. That's her latest project on me. But we'll get there because everything she has mapped out has always come to pass. In preparing for this, Sue, in Chinyere's nature, she instructed me not to speak too much. Yeah, she's going to pretend like she didn't say anything, but if you know Chinyere, you know she says a lot without saying anything. So I got the message, Chinyere. However, one thing that we know about Chinyere is that once she communicates in her silence, we're all forced to act accordingly. So I have tried to limit it so that I do not, you know, what do you call it, future female leader, I won't dent it. So the way I thought to approach this was really to share some of my experiences with Chinyere, and hopefully through that you get to know the kind of person that she is, that I have come to know. So using some of my experiences with Chinyere, I will share a bit about what I know about her. I met Chinyere in 2001. She was one of the PwC staff who interviewed me, some rigorous process. But one thing that stood out to me was the way she looked, the way she dressed. And I said to myself that I must work here. Because if there's somebody like this here, then I must be here. I did not care what she was saying. You know, I just wanted to be next to her. So I got to work with Chinyere in PwC. There were so many stories about Chinyere. So many stories. But anyway, I'll leave that part. I shadowed her closely. I'm not sure she knew. I did this for over a decade. I think she left in 2012. So yeah, see, I remember. She left in 2012. And in that time, in my close shadowing of her, because I always looked for projects that she was on so I could work with her. And in that time, there are 5 things about Chinyere which I'll be sharing today. The very first thing I noticed about Chinyere is that she delegates where possible. I know we talk a lot about being superwoman. I mean, when I joined PwC, I was newly married, just had a child, and I, you know, superwoman, I thought I would do everything. I'll be nice to my in-laws, I'll be nice to my husband, I'll be nice to the child, and I'll go to work. And then I studied pharmacy, but was forced to do ICANN, so I was going to classes, I was doing everything. And one day in working with Chinyere, we had to go for a client meeting. And so what happened? I got in my car. Of course, I was junior staff, so I had to get there early to make sure everything was ready before Chinyere gets there. So I get in my car, I drive to the place. I actually knew the way. I got there, but it took me 30 minutes to find parking. So I kept going round and round. And in my going round and round, I look up and I see Chinyere driving. She was driven by her driver, drives her up to the door. And then she just gets out of the car and walks in. And I'm still there looking for parking. I'm like, what's happening here? You know? So I said, after that, you know, I had to apologize to her that I was here, but I was looking for parking. She said, yeah. You know, Mary, you can't do everything. You know, so why don't you get a driver? And I said, okay, note to self, I will get a driver because I like that soft life. I can't do everything. Number two, Chinyere sets boundaries. I noticed that in working with Chinyere, that she usually leaves work early. Now, for anybody who's worked in professional services or anything of the sort, you know that there's resumption time, but there's no closing time. So you can be there forever, you know. I will not embarrass my husband any further, but you can be there forever. But I noticed that Chinyere would always leave early. She would leave before the sun sets. So one day I asked her that, how do you do it? Because there's always work to do. So how do you just, you know, get up to leave? This was after a lot of prayer and, you know, summoning of courage, because you don't just walk up to Chinyere and talk to her. After I had done that, I asked her how she does it. She looked straight at me and she said, I'll never forget. She explained to me that she had a life outside PwC and that she thought it was important to give every part of her life due attention, which she did. She said a lot more, but made me realize very quickly that as long as you do not say no and set boundaries, there'll always be work to do, right? There'll always be a request to be fulfilled. So, note to self, I will set and communicate boundaries. It's been difficult, but I try to do it. Number three, Chinyere competes with herself. She doesn't compete with anybody. She sets a goal for herself and she goes for it. It doesn't matter what 15 different people are doing around her. She's just, you know, looking forward. She also made me realize that when doing what you're passionate about, there's always room to shine. Chinyere said to me within PwC that, you know, she sees how people are constantly trying to compete, outshine others and make sure that, oh, I'm the best compared to others. And she said that she doesn't think that is necessary. That in PwC, doing what you love, you can always find your path. Find that path and go for it. You don't need to step on anybody's toes to achieve your goal. So in PwC, while her peers were fighting each other and looking for position, what did Chinyere do? What did Chinyere do? Focused on outperforming herself, what did she do? Chinyere started up a new unit in PwC and grew it to prominence within PwC and in the marketplace, and it's still there in PwC. It's the governance unit. So, note to self, shine by outperforming myself, not by outperforming others. Number four, Chinyere is always ready to act. If you are not ready to talk to Chinyere, or you're not ready to review that deliverable, don't ask Chinyere, because she's not one of those that will tell you, oh, well, you know, when am I available? Okay, let's look at maybe next week. Once you bring it up, Chinyere says, okay, let's do it now. So many times I was caught because I'll go there trying to show that, you know, I'm interested. you know, and I'm like, oh, Chinyere, you know, that's deliverable. I think I would even say, oh, you know, we need to send it to the client next week. But, you know, when would you, I know you're very busy, but when would you be available to review? And then she would look at me and be like, okay, let's do it now, bring your chair. I'm like, So Chinyere would always respond with now. or she would give you a firm date. Even sometimes, because remember I told you she leaves before the sun sets. Even sometimes you can see her packing up, which is a perfect time, I thought, to go and, just show that. So at least you will know that, Mary showed interest, So, but I'll get there and then she'll be like, oh, okay, let's talk about it. And, she would put her back down and then she'll be looking at me. I think in her mind, she knew that I won't be ready. So she knew that the conversation would not be long. So she'll be looking at me. And then by the time I ramble, she's like, okay, you know what? I think you need to prep for this. So let's talk about it 9 a.m. tomorrow. That's Chinere. She doesn't procrastinate. Hardly ever. Note to self, I'm still trying to figure that one out because it hasn't, because it hasn't cooked well in me. Number 5, Chinere communicates using facts and with a smile. So it doesn't matter how difficult or bad what she's going to tell you is, Chinere will always smile and she would use facts. So even when you disagree with the conclusion, you can't argue. It's very painful. There was a particular situation where we did a job together. I mean, I think it was Chinere and then maybe there were 5 other people. And so she had to give us feedback on our performance during the job. And of course, the 4 others that went before me, they got really bad feedback. And me, I was telling myself that I did well now. I did well. I did well. I kept, And then she sent my feedback and so I went to her because I was sure that I did well. I was very sure. So I went to her and said, Chinere, please, can we talk about this feedback? Because, I don't think I agree with your comments. I said, oh, really? Okay. What do you disagree with? I said, well, the conclusion. So I actually said to her that, everything you say is right, just the conclusion. I don't think, that you should change the conclusion. Anyway, so she says, oh, but everything I said is right. Okay, so what conclusion would you put there? Well, note to self, speak less, use facts. So I left there with that. There are many more things, I'm sure, as you can imagine, that I could tell you about Chinere, but I said before she warned me, so I would stop there. But one thing that I would like for us to know about Chinere, if we do not already, Chinere is a class act. She's uniquely equipped to write this book. In fact, I'm not a casual reader. I read when I have to read. I read when it's necessary. So I don't just pick up random books and read. But when I picked up this book, I couldn't put it down. And even my husband said he's a casual reader, so he can read like 15 books in 1 minute, But he picked it up and it's like, that's a very good book, and it's a lot of the things she talks about are not just theoretical, because I have shadowed her for over a decade. So I know that these are things that she lives by. I have learned new skills to apply from reading the book. And Chinere continues to pave the way for people like me. She encourages and supports me and a lot of us, as I found out, oh yes, I actually thought I was special because Chinere will call me and she will talk to me, find out, how are your kids, how's your husband, and I thought, oh, okay, no, Mary, you're really special. Only for something like this to happen, and I'm seeing all sorts of ladies telling me about, how I've spoken to Chinere, and Chinere said this, and they're telling me things that she doesn't even tell me. Anyway, I'm fine. I'm competing with myself. So she encourages and supports us to walk the path. She celebrates us, no matter how small the victory. I consider myself really privileged to know her, and it's an honor, Chinere, to celebrate you publicly. We celebrate you behind the scenes for the most part, but it's really a pleasure to celebrate you publicly. I thank you for this opportunity, and may your shadow never grow less, because guess what? we need the shade that you provide. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. That was a course on Chinyere 101. Can anybody give me just 3 notes to self? The author will dash you 1 copy of the book. 3 notes to self. We just has. Yes. From her. Please put your hands together for her. Any other one? Sorry? Use facts, speak less. Set boundaries, fantastic, set boundaries. Sorry? Celebrate others. Delegate. Delegate, delegate. Any other one? Compete with yourself. Yes. Have a life. Well, it doesn't end here. Yeah, so many other people, especially us women. You're a wife, you're a mother, you're a sister, you're a professional at work, you're somebody's daughter, you're somebody's daughter-in-law, you're somebody's sister. Abba. Let's put our hands together for Mary. Mary, that was fantastic. You know, she was just talking and I was just imagining, because if you look at Mary and you look at Chinyere, you wonder, their personalities are not, no, they are not the same. But somehow they've been able to put it together. Okay. We move. We move. So while between the time the panelists were coming down and Mary was coming up, our keynote speaker walked in. He is the senior pastor, Trinity House, and managing partner, SIAO. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Pastor Itua Ehodalu for his keynote address.
Lost and found a phone. Please come with proof of ownership. And also a biro. It's nice and pink. Chire, I salute you and thank you for accommodating my schedule and allowing me to come a little bit late. And I do apologize for that. And Uche, I salute you also. And I thank you for being the rock behind this beautiful woman. Please let's give Uche, my friend and my buddy, a round of applause. One good thing about Chinyere, she's made you
Tell
look
them their phone is not going. Tell them that
Definitely. Steve Akande, I greet you.
let me talk to them through your
I
phone.
greet you also and all other people on the top table. I've been asked to speak on the future focused female leader.
Yes.
Let me start by telling you a story. I am the
12 marigold Christians. 12 marigold Christians.
and forever the last child of a
Yes,
set of
good morning.
parents who are
Una phone
largely
go.
public servants. My mother, Fola Yegbe
Alright.
Akintude
Oh, no,
Godalo,
I'm telling her coming.
ended her
So, no.
career as the first female leader. I must have been about 8 or 9 years old when I'd come in from playing football, and my mother had come from the office, and she had, as it was her custom, when she gets in from the office, we have to be right there at the car, so that as she gets out of the car, I pick up her bag, my brother Aswe picks up her basket, and we march behind her into her room. True story. And then she takes off her shoes, she has a wash or a bath, and then she comes to have a meal. And then again, my brother Asu and I are by her side. When she coughs, we're there. When she belches, we're there until she finishes her meal before you can now go back and play your football. So the first role of a future female leader is to deal with her boys and show them that the woman can be powerful. But one evening about 6 p.m., a man called Mr. Nagati, an Italian, drove up to our house in the government reservation area of Ibadan in a brand new 404 Peugeot car. And my mother had gone in for her siesta. So the house help had to call her and say, one Mr. Nagati, an Italian with curly dark hair, had come to see her. And my mother said, this is not the secretariat. This is my personal home. Tell him I cannot see him. So I went to her and I said, mommy, Oyibonyo. For those who don't speak your I say, an Oyibo man, please come and see Oyibo in our house. She said, this boy, don't disturb me. Anyway, she came out reluctantly and she sat at the dining table, and Mr. Nagati brought a set of files, and I was there now eavesdropping, trying to hear what this Oyibo is telling my mother. At that time, she was the chairman of the Odua group. You know, the entire Odua group. It wasn't called Odua at that time. I think it was called Western Nigerian something. But it emphasized into Odua group. She was permanent secretary, trade and industries. They were stronger than commissioners in those days. She ran the whole department. Okay, and she was the most senior lady in the civil service of Western Nigeria, and possibly Nigeria. So she bestrode about 14 companies, traveled all the time, and was here, there, everywhere, and always in the newspapers. So I was eavesdropping to try and hear what was going on. Then all of a sudden I hear, get out, blah, blah, dash, stupid man, foolish man, out of my house, you are crazy, you are mad, this is Nigeria, what do you think you are doing, foolish man, get out, how dare you, you come to my house and tell me this? I saw Nagati pick up his files, his face was red, ran into his car and drove off in a huff. So I went to my mom. I said, Mom, Kiloshe, what did he do? She said, stupid man, foolish man, how dare he? He comes to my house, offers me a bribe. I said, what kind of bribe? He said, a house in Italy. I said, you didn't take it. So what did you say? You and Nagati, out of my house. My mother died, she had only one house on heaven and on earth. Because she was a future-focused female leader. What's the challenge of female leadership in this world that we find in? And being a man of the cloth or the man of pastorate, let's go back to Genesis chapter 3. That story in Eden where an apple was exchanged. Could be a real apple, could be an affair, could be an indiscretion, could be a mistake. But what happened was that in Eden, the woman was in charge. She actually had the control because she was a much better version of the man. The man was made out of soil, breathed into. The woman was the second model. I know second models are always better than the first. Is there a good second model here? Can you give yourselves a round of applause? much prettier, much softer, much curvier. Are you hearing what I'm saying? And super extraordinary brain. That's why the so-called serpent went to her, because he knew where the power was. And he knew that whatever he told her, she had Adam in her little fingers. But the change came in Genesis chapter 3, when God says, I withdraw that power. In pain and struggle will you give birth. Your desire now will be to this man, and you will be wanting to serve him all the days of your life. For the future focused woman, I break that curse. You're not saying amen. So from then, women tried to take charge and run things and do things away. I'm not sure we've done a very good job. And I think too many women have allowed themselves to be slightly pushed to the back in this seemingly male-dominated world. So it's time for the future-focused female leader to push back. I'll tell another story. When I was getting married to my late wife, Ibidunni Olajumoke, she was a young youth corper. And when she finished her youth corps, I then asked her, what do you want to do? She studied microbiology. And she said she wanted to do events management. By the way, her events company is the best in the world. So make sure you all use it. It's still working and it's still alive. So I said, what is that? So just managing people's events, blah, 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 blah. It was a new industry at that time. Not many people were doing it. Maybe Yewande Zacchaeus had started. And then she was like number 2 to really dive into that business because she just had a passion for it. So she got a job from one Mr. Waka who lived in Delta. She had absolutely no money. I gave her some money. She jumped on a bus, went to this place all by herself, ran this event, made a little money, not enough, came back, but at least she started. The first thing is to start. The first thing is to start. All the ducks are never fully lined up, but you will start. If Moses did not lift the rod, the Red Sea would never have parted. So stop waiting for a better tomorrow before you start. Start right where you are. So I then said to her, you needed to incorporate a company, do this, do that, do the other one, have a structure, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And she followed my advice. Then one day she was out somewhere and she says, you are going out to the pastor, you say you are doing events, it's not going to work. And she asked the lady, why? The pastor will not allow you to do events. It's not in the tradition of pastors to allow their wives to be so independent and do things, events of all things. It's not going to be possible. She looked at the lady and smiled. He said, he incorporated my company for her. He incorporated my company for me. Brings me to point number 2. Find your passion and follow it. And don't let any pastor stand in your way. Can I hear an amen to that one? Don't let any man born of a woman stand in your way. Find your passion and pursue it. Because when you find your passion, life becomes easy. A lot of people ask me, how do I do it? I do practice in the morning. Thank God for my partners. Mr. Smith is here. He allows me to express myself. Odiachi complains, but I don't listen to him. God will bless you, Jereladi. I do pastor in the afternoon. I do politics in the evening, blah, blah, blah. How do you cope? Aren't you tired? I say you can't be tired of pursuing your passion. Every single one of them is the same skill, managing people and situations, and I am passionate about it. Find your passion and pursue it. A lot of people are doing jobs that they rather not do and going out to places they rather not go to and finding life extremely difficult and burdensome is because they're not in their place of passion. The Bible puts it in a little different way. It says, before I formed you, I knew you. Before you came forth out of your mother's womb, I had created something for you to be passionate about. Find God's will and God's purpose for your life and do it. Find God's will and God's purpose for your life and do it. I can bear testimony to the fact that women, for me, are extremely intelligent. I'm not being condescending at all. One of my biggest problems was my wife gave me an advice. I didn't take that advice. I lost a lot of money. I said, how did you know? She says, I knew it in my guts. There's this intuition that any right-thinking man should consult his woman or his wife when he wants to take a decision. They are powerful because I'm not sure there's any man, whatever he may call himself, president or prime minister or Kiliwi Wanjuku, that can go through the pain of childbirth. I think it's absolutely impossible. But women have been well wired to have that kind of strength. Women also, people generally say, a little bit more honest than us men. I don't know about Nigerian women. Sorry. I don't know what is happening in places today. Some women are quite nifty, but generally, you can find a much more stable, comfortable woman to trust with your resources. And women are emotionally strong. Emotionally strong. You know, the theory in those days is that if a man lost his wife and they were close, within a year or 2 years, the man will wither away, dissipate. I've seen it happen a few times. But today, if a woman loses her husband, she switches her emotions within a few years, and you find her doing omugo all over the place and continuing with her life and coping with other people's problems. What then should we be looking for in the future-focused female leader? Number one, don't be intimidated by anyone. A lot of us women have allowed men, because of their seeming relevance and positions of power, to intimidate us, to harangue us, to do all sorts of things with us. Have your vision, a clear vision, a very clear vision of what you're going and the purpose of your life, and pursue it. A guy called Mensa Otabil said, see the future and buy the future, because the future is cheap. Have a clear vision and a purpose for your life. When I do marriage counseling, and some married people must be in this room, the first question I ask the couple is, what is God's purpose for your spouse's life or intended spouse's life? And I ask the second person, 9 out of 10, they miss it. They say, oh, to have a good family, to have baby, to have this and that. That isn't that. God wants you to have a purpose that's bigger than yourself, that's going to be beneficial to the world. And 90% of the people in the world are not in the place of purpose. And that's why the world is a struggle, is a difficulty, is a challenge. They're not happy, they're frustrated because they're not working towards God's purpose in their lives. Find your purpose and buy it and pursue it. And don't marry any man that will not allow you to fulfill your purpose. That's why marriages are in problems and challenges, because you have what you call dual vision, which leads to division. One is going this way and the other is going that way. And then you marry a man who wants you to be in the house and be a housewife when you are like Chinyere, you want to be writing books and controlling the world and taking charge. It's not going to work. You might manage the marriage, but you'll be unhappy. So find your purpose and pursue it. Number two, be prepared to pay the price. Be prepared to pay the price. It takes a lot to succeed. It takes working 24/7. You cannot now come and say, oh, but I'm a woman, just allow me, blah, blah, blah. No, you must be prepared to pay the price. A lady came to me the other day. She said she wants to do politics. Good idea. She says, but I can't go for those midnight meetings. I say, I'm not ready to do politics. You must be ready to go for the midnight meetings and sit in the meetings and cross your legs and say your point and let people hear what you have to say and be part of it, and so on and so forth. And I must appeal to most corporations. You know, in my organization, we're trying to hire some ladies the other day. My head of recruitment is a lady. And then she said to me that one of the ladies is pregnant. Therefore, we cannot continue the interview. I said, not on my watch. I said, you are going to continue that interview. You are going to finish that interview. You are going to employ her, and she's going to start work if she qualifies. She says, what if she has the baby? She has to go on 3 months leave. I said, fine. There's no crime in having a baby. He says, then we're going to say she can't have a baby for another 2 years. I said, no, let her have baby every year. I don't care. As long as she does her work, I'm all good. You must push against those discriminatory things and those things that you yourselves sometimes have empowered and put on top of the place. She's a lady, this woman. And I said, why are you discriminating because the girl is pregnant? She's married. What do you expect her to do? She has to get pregnant. And being pregnant is not a problem. What it is she competent? When she finishes her maternity leave, let her come back to her job and let her do her job. Be prepared to pay the price. Number 3, don't compromise your values. Don't compromise your values. Unfortunately, in the pursuit of progress, quite a lot of women have compromised their values. They have compromised the standards that they have. Let me tell you, nobody respects anyone who compromises their values. They may not cooperate with you, but at the end of the day, they will respect you. I was sitting in a political meeting the other day with one of our big political leaders, and they were bouncing names around as to a lady to put in a position. And anytime this lady's name came up, somebody will struggle. I said, no. Then somebody else said, but she's good. She said, no. Then they looked around. She says, he. She's been their girlfriend. She can't have this job. It's like Esau, who sells his birthright for a morsel of bread. Number 4, educate, and re-educate yourself. You don't expect that you are painting nails, putting eyelashes. You know, the other day, without due respect. Anyway, let me not go there. And you're not self-improving and think that just like that, you are going to make progress in this competitive world. It's not going to happen. Be informed, know the future, educate yourself, work very hard. One of the great things about my late wife was that she was constantly training and retraining herself. If I had a little quarrel with her, it was because she spent quite a lot of money training, being on the computer, going for lectures. As a matter of fact, she was at the LBS and just graduating when this thing happened. And then they were gracious enough to graduate her and give her her degree posthumously. She kept on training and retraining herself. Number 5, be bold and courageous. Be bold and courageous. There's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear, and there's no man that can intimidate anybody. You are as good or better than they are. You have the skill, you have the focus, you have the competence, you have the intelligence, you can do the work. Be bold and be courageous. One of the greatest gifts that my mother had was her ability to be bold. And she was bold because she was clean. She was bold because she could stand high. She was bold because she was not compromising. She was bold because she didn't tolerate nonsense. I saw her tell off a governor and tell the governor that if he didn't like, he can jump, because this is the civil service rules and this is what they're going to follow, and nobody's going to force her to compromise. So if he doesn't like, he can jump, and if he wants to fire her, he can go ahead. You must be bold and face the challenges ahead. Number 6, like Chinyere did, live a normal life also. Have a life. You know, you have only one life to live, and you must find time to live that life to the full and create time and space for everyone. When you have your boundaries, people will respect them and people will allow you to be. So don't overwork yourself. Don't burn yourself out. Create time for all the things, the children, the husband, and the job. Everything can be done within reasonable time. And finally, tonight, pray, 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 pray like it's going out of style. God bless you all.
A pastor has spoken. Please, can we give him a huge, huge round of applause? I don't know about you, but I picked a few things while he was speaking. Start. Okay. Don't be intimidated. See the future. Find your purpose. Buy it. Pursue it. Be prepared to pay the price. Don't compromise your values. Educate and re-educate yourself. Self-improve. Be informed. Know the future. Be bold and courageous. Have a life. And most importantly, pray. Let's put our hands together once again. This is one keynote address that did not come out of a paper. You will agree with me. You are very used to going for events and then the keynote address, and then page 1, and then there's page 2, and then you're sitting there wondering how many more pages, how many more. This is life. And we can't forget what we have heard today. We are focused leaders. These are the keys that we need to get there. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so while the keynote was on, Ebele Nwachukwu, CEO, MD CEO, Royal Exchange Insurance PLC, she walked in. Can we please give her a round of applause? Where is she there? Oh, madam, I only saw you in picture. A pleasure to finally see you physically. All right, so we're going to take a very short video. Chinyere is telling us why she wrote the book. Is the video ready now? Is it ready? She's a fine girl.
I started my career over 30 years ago with Times Hospital, and then transitioned to World Bank Group, where I managed an Africa-wide program. We actually had interventions in about 13 African countries where we have to establish rules and implement them across those countries. And then today, I'm the President of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It's been a journey of over 30 years. And there have been a lot of challenges to get through, and a lot of good times are shared. Also, it's important for everyone to get the book. Because starting from the time when I was an audit assistant and pastor housekeeper, I'm struggling to end my promotion. I'm struggling to understand who I was and who I needed to be in order to do my work and be productive. And also the time when I got married and had children and just being able to navigate the water and thinking my head high. I believe that I'm somebody who is come to a lot. People talk to me today and they think I'm an extrovert. I'm actually an introvert. I'm a very shy person. I lack courage. I lack a lot of the attributes that I have put down in the book because I had to learn them. I had to practice them to get better at those attributes. So just focus in a leader, the people of the year, and every woman should have a copy of that book. Okay, so the book contains 12 great attributes that every female leader should aspire to develop. also improve upon. What about gender diversity? And it's not just getting women on the table, getting them to understand what is done. Because everyone needs to own their journey. Everyone's journey is different, but you have a lot of organization, what the organization of them, and you project yourself, you will get there, you will get it. And which is why I recommend this for everyone, because we get this
12 discusses the imperative of appearance, being properly groomed. And you can tell our author every step of the way, there's no time I've seen Dr. Almona not being well timed from her top of her head to the soles of her feet. Check her out. And she describes executive presence as the amalgamation of three factors: gravitas, communication, and appearance. And of course, women are judged more intensely by their appearance than are men. Dr. Almona shares grooming tips for female. Each chapter of the book ends with top 10 takeaways, which are nuggets to live by. The book also has a bonus chapter on being tenacious, and the author distinguished courage from tenacity. They're not the same. Whilst both words mean mental or moral strength to resist opposition, danger, or hardship, tenacity includes implications of stubborn persistence and the unwillingness to admit defeat. The book ends on a dramatic note with the breaking news of how Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand and Nicola Sturgeon of Scotland, who won widespread respect and admiration for strong, courageous, determined leadership, stepped down from their leadership positions. Both left the legacy of a great lesson with a leader that a leader should step back as soon as they feel they are no longer the best person for the job, rather than being forced out. More importantly, both women lived out the attributes of the future-focused female leader as discussed in the book. I will end this review by quoting the last paragraph of the book, and it says, female leaders tend to be judged more harshly than men, and it is harder for women to survive public life without excelling in their jobs. Sturgeon and Ardern excelled. They demonstrated a balanced approach to leadership that many of our counterparts and future-focused female leaders will do well to emulate. These news beats validate the importance of the book thumbs up for the future focused female leader. Please get a copy. Thank you.
That was very, very concise. Let's put our hands together for Mrs. Bisi Adeyemi. While the review was going on, a past president of LCCI worked in, Mr. Babatunde Paul Ruwase FCA. You're welcome, sir. We're glad to have you. Can we please have the book trailer now? Is it ready, the book trailer?
When females lead, societies and organizations benefit tremendously. However, females continue to struggle, and finding proper guidance is challenging, even when a woman's heart is in the right place. As we journey into the future, we must facilitate the emergence and success of future-focused female leaders in society and the workplace. The future-focused female leader is for ladies intending to develop or strengthen their leadership skills to excel. It is also a resource that can be leveraged to coach and mentor younger female leaders to continue developing themselves and their perspectives. Dr. Chinyere Almona leverages her 30 years of leadership experience in diverse roles across Africa. She shares her ups and downs, failures and successes, strengths and weaknesses, showing anyone striving to lead successfully that the secret lies in strengthening or developing certain attributes. The Future-Focused Female Leader is a great read with insights and actionable ideas. It is a book that will genuinely resonate with female leaders at different stages of leadership. It is personal, practical, and powerful, making it relatable for female leaders on their leadership journeys. Get your copy now from Amazon or Roving Heights online bookstores, or email the author at almonabookcafe@gmail.com for autographed copies.
Okay, and like they say at events, the hour we have all been waiting for. So we're going to combine two things, the unveiling of the book and the launch. You agree with me? So as we are unveiling, we'll start the launch with the unveilers and then every other person. How about that? I think that will work. So I'd like to call up our chairman, Chief Dr. Mrs. Nike Akonde, CONONFIOD. Please come forward, ma'am. And Pastor Itua will be supporting you along with past presidents of LCCI and the vice president. Please come forward. And of course, our author and Pastor Almona. Please this way, ma'am. You first. Please, when we're done with this set, please, all panelists, book reviewer, you please join, okay?
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to launch this book to the glory of God and for the benefit of people that will read the book. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What about me? Okay. Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to launch this book with the amount of my check, which I have whispered to the author of the book. Thank you. Thank you. You can whisper your own.
Yes. 100,000.
Thank you.
Well, since we are now limited to operating at a whispering palm, I've done my own whispering. And I also have the pleasure and satisfaction that I find myself here today. This is an event I will never love to miss. I mean, you know, this building, the LCCIB, it's a great institution of 135 years old that has addressed the issue of gender balance. We have had 3 female presidents. We now have a DG, a female. And so we have divisions here that encourage, develop, and empower women. So you are at the right location. Thank you very much.
Ladies, there are more of ladies here than men, so I'll leave them. Ladies, it's a pleasure to be here and to be part of this program. When doctor told me that she will be doing this, I said I will be here, although I have to be at another event. I said I must be here for your sake. It's a pleasure to be here, and my elders have spoken. And actually, I shouldn't be talking after my elders have spoken. So I will toe the same line. I'll get to you, doctor. Congratulations.
Elders have spoken. People have learned from the hearts, and people have learned from envelopes. But on behalf of SIO, my partner, Lady Smith, Ojiachi, and myself, will launch 5 copies, 250,000.
Thank you very much. Ma, please, you remain. 3 of you will remain. And then, please, all panelists, please come up. You may step down, sir. Thank you. No. Okay, you need to take. Okay. Yes, they can see. Another set of people are coming. Please take a copy of the book for photographs.
Let's celebrate. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Let's celebrate. It's all right. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Let's celebrate. It's all right, baby. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Let's celebrate. It's all right. We're gonna have a good time tonight.
Please, it's not whispering palms today. No whispering. Thank you, Pastor, for breaking the jinx. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. And congratulations, Dr. Almona. Congratulations. Please, the cover price for the book is 12,000 naira. And everybody in this room, and please, who's at the door? I need somebody at the door. Nobody leaves this room without a copy, at least. We'll do a show Malo today. Everybody must go with at least one copy. Are we agreed on that? Great. So please, somebody should be at the door to ensure that. Okay. I'd like to call up from Access Bank, Abiodun Olubincho for their goodwill message. I don't know whether it's a he or a she. Oh, okay, Abiodun, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm liking this. I'm a woman, sorry. It has to happen. I'm sure some of us have been doing that since morning. I love this.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really very excited to be part of this, celebrating Dr. Chinyere. I'm meeting her for the first time today, and in all honesty, I'm in love with her. I think she's a phenomenal woman. She's the good representation of W. And of course, W is always to inspire, to connect, and empower women. And of course, what we are doing today, I think every woman should actually get this book. If you are a man, get for your wife, get for your sister, get for your friends, get for your spouse, anything female in your life, please make sure you get this book. Congratulations again, Dr. Chinyere, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call up Funke Oladapo, age 11. Is she here? Oh, okay. Let's put our hands together for Funke.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Age 11s, under the leadership of Oluwaseun Oni, I congratulate our doctor for a job well done. It's a good book from the review that I've heard, and I actually recommend to everyone, go through it, and I know enough is there for you to learn from. God bless you all.
Thank you. Please, I expect to see some ushers moving around with copies of the books. Please, ushers. I'd like to call up finally Mrs. Ebele Nwachukwu, CEO Royal Exchange General Insurance. Let's put our hands together for her.
Okay, good afternoon. All protocols observed. Dr. Almona, I want to congratulate you on the book. As a woman leader myself, one of 4 girls and a mother of 2 girls now, I think these are the kind of books we should be reading to let us women know that really and truly there's nothing that stops us and there's nothing that limits us in our desire to achieve and fulfill the purpose for which we were born. So I congratulate you, and I encourage everyone to take a copy home and please read it and read more and more books. Thank you. Congrats again, Dr. Almona.
Please, 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 please. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Nwachukwu. Thank you very much. So, by way of announcement, the books are available for immediate purchase. We have them on, we also have it on Amazon, I understand. And the ushers are available to support and to help us should we need any kind of help. Please, do I have our attention? She walked in very quietly and sat somewhere at the back while the event was going on. It wasn't until I was going to deliver the phone that was lost and found that I saw her. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me, Miss Tinu Awe, NGX. Let's put our hands together for Tinu. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for coming. I'll blow my trumpet if nobody will blow it for me. I was just asking Ini a minute ago, I said, will I be able to feed being an MC? And she said, yes. Do you people agree? So this is another hustle, a side hustle for me, yeah? My name is Hilda Anko. I'm the Chief Executive at HNC Professional Services. I'm a management consultant and a governance expert. Yeah. All right, so we do these things to help ourselves. Here is my sister, and I'd like to call her up now for her vote of thanks. Let's put our hands together for her. We've not even heard your voice since morning.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Sound like you're happy to be here. Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I want to thank God for the sense that He gave me to write this book. I want to thank God for the experiences all these years that I can capture it into something that is useful for posterity. And then I want to thank you all for making time this afternoon. If I called and you didn't answer, this place will be empty. Can you imagine what that would look like? So please clap for yourselves. I want to thank the sponsors. Where's the sponsors? I have to find the list. I make sure I call everybody. I can't leave anybody out. Can I borrow your list? Thank you. So I want to thank the sponsors because without them, we would not have gathered. But they trusted that this was worthwhile and they supported. So I want to thank Fidelity Bank. Please clap for them. Royal Exchange, General Insurance, and Just Food. And I want to thank the bronze sponsors, Coronation, Wema Bank, please be clapping, AG Leventis, FCMB, Access Bank, United Capitals. Please put your hands together for them. I thank you all so much to be here on a Saturday. I'm sure you had other things to do. For some people, I sent the invitation yesterday. Some people just registered this morning. So I just want to thank you for leaving every other thing that you could have been doing at this time and just be here to honor me and be here to celebrate a phenomenal woman that you are. Please put your hands together for yourself. Writing this book itself was an experience. But, you know, writing a book is not something you do by yourself. And I didn't do this by myself. My husband is here. Where is he? Thanks to my husband for supporting me, standing by me. And we say we shouldn't use allow, and encouraging, and supporting, and facilitating, all those other words. I have sponsoring and advocating to make sure I finish the book. I also want to thank my children, Chidu maybe, who is here, David, who is somewhere at the back, and Gine Kachuku, who is online. They were all very helpful in one way or the other, helping in the research, helping in finding photos, and all that it took to make this happen. So I want to thank them all. God bless you.
Jesus started with prayers and ended with prayers. Miss Etemo Glover, closing prayers.
Yes, for you gotta believe. Can we all rise in honor of the King? Can we all honor God by please keeping silent? Gracious and Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for such a time as this, that we've gathered here to support our sister, Dr. Chinyere Almona. And for this book, we want to thank you because this is the beginning of many things to come. We want to thank you because we will support the growth of women. Women have been created by you in your grand schemes of things to be nation builders, to be leaders of industries, to contribute in every way possible to make our nation strong, to make the family strong, to make industries and companies strong. Today we've learned that we can go back to that original design that you have created for us. We've learned so many things today, and as we go back, we'll be crusaders to continue to create opportunities for women in our societies, in our places of work, in our homes, in our families. Father, we will bear this torch. We also want to thank you for Dr. Chinyere, who put together 30 years of her life in this book. This book, we pray, will not only change the lives of women in this generation, but in the generation yet unborn. May it be said by some woman 50, 60, 100 years from now that this book has touched my life. But I want to thank you. The well from where this resource came from will never run dry. Father, at the end of her life, everything, every resource you have put inside of her will be empty. She will leave this earth empty. And this is my prayer. I pray for every woman here today, that we will fulfill our destinies and we will leave this earth empty. I pray for the men who are supporting women, the he for she's. May they continue to support their wives, their mothers, their sisters, their daughters, that together we will build strong nations. Father, we ask because we know you have heard, and because you have heard, we know we've had prayers answered. Thank you, Father. And as we go home, Father, we go with this light, so Lord God, to build stronger nations, to bring stronger families, to bring us stronger children in the name of Jesus. Thank you for answered prayers. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen.
Finding the motivation to navigate life's daily hurdles can be quite challenging. The pressures of work and relationships can take a toll on anyone, especially leaders. However, seeking inspiration from remarkable leaders within your circle and beyond can keep the flame of positivity burning bright. Cultivating an optimistic perspective is undoubtedly one of the best things leaders can do for themselves and those they lead. Dr. Chinyere Almona introduced my Monday morning motivational news, a weekly LinkedIn post that has proven immensely helpful in igniting the spark to start each week. These weekly posts have provided short, yet powerful reflections, written excerpts, and snippets of personal stories, serving as a much-needed source of motivation. Now, Dr. Almona has combined all these positivity-inspiring perspectives into a book that will uplift and prepare you for whatever lies ahead. If you're interested in experiencing the uplifting power of this book, you can get your copy from Amazon or Roving Heights online bookstores. Alternatively, you can reach out to the author directly for personalized autographed copies by sending an email to almonabookcafe@gmail.com. So why wait? Take advantage of this opportunity to infuse your life with inspiration to achieve your aspirations. Grab your copy of this book now and let it guide you towards a brighter future. Finding the motivation to navigate life's daily hurdles can be quite challenging. The pressures of work and relationships can take a toll on anyone, especially leaders. However, seeking inspiration from remarkable leaders within your circle and beyond can keep the flame of positivity burning bright. Cultivating an optimistic perspective is undoubtedly one of the best things leaders can do for themselves and those they lead. Dr. Chinyere Almona introduced my Monday morning motivational muse, a weekly LinkedIn post that has proven immensely helpful in igniting the spark to start each month. These weekly posts have provided short yet powerful reflections, written excerpts, and snippets of personal stories, serving as a much needed source of motivation. Now, Dr. Almona has combined all these positivity inspiring perspectives into a book that will uplift and prepare you for whatever lies ahead. If you're interested in experiencing the uplifting power of this book, you can get your copy from Amazon or Roving Heights online bookstores. Alternatively, you can reach out to the author directly for personalized autographed copies by sending an email to almonabookcafe@gmail.com. So why wait? Take advantage of this opportunity to infuse your life with inspiration to achieve your aspirations. Grab your copy of this book now and let it guide you towards a brighter future.
Laughing love, this will be the one I've waited for. This will be the first time anyone has loved me. Oh, so glad you found me inside, and I'm so glad to find my mind. This will be an everlasting love for me. It's kind of wonderful because you show me just how much you care. The thrill of a life and made me believe you've got no thrills to spare. And the everlasting.
Wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy. Grab my glasses, I'm out the door. I'm gonna hit this city. Before I leave, brush my teeth with a bottle of Jack. Cause when I leave for the night, I ain't coming back. I'm talking back here on my toes, trying on all our clothes, what's blowing up my bones. Dropped up and playing my favorite CDs, telling them to the parties, trying to get a little bit tips. Don't stop, make it pop, DJ blow my speakers down. I'm fight so speed and lights. On the clock, the party don't in the world that got plenty of beer. Ain't got no money in my pocket, but I'm already